What's up, everybody? It's your host, Will Blazeski, and you're listening to the SignatureCAST, where we talk bodybuilding, business, and everything in between. No introduction, the man to my right, the one, the only, Kai Greene.
What's up, Will? What's going on?
I am doing fantastic. This is like a lifelong dream for me right now.
Man,
Stop it. So, Kai, you have now been coming to Signature Fitness for quite a while now, correct?
Absolutely.
On and off, and
yeah, actually, you know what? I started coming here actually when I was competing and preparing for my last
Arnold Olympia. What?
Both.
Both.
Yeah, but you said it. I didn't say it. You said it. Definitely.
Last, but maybe not the last.
Well, you know, I mean, it certainly was what was before now.
There are opportunities always.
Well, you know, the future is
Bright.
very bright, very bright. Yes.
So, Kai, just a couple. We're going to start off with a quick question. So, grew up Brooklyn, New York, correct?
Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed. So, I wanted to know a little bit, not as much as the childhood, but how did the culture there develop your sense of art, your sense of bodybuilding? How did it put you on this track? Was it something that influenced you as a child, or was it you just saw like a He-Man and you were like, man, I'm going to get jacked and then I'm going to draw comics?
Oh, that's dope. Wow. So drawing comics is a very interesting thing. Certainly something I definitely like to touch on.
Yes.
In my effort to answer you at this moment, I guess the first thing I would say is the culture growing up in Brooklyn, I think it influences you in a tremendous way because it shapes everything that becomes the picture of, you know, the apartment, the living situation, the reasons for living where you were, you know, and I think the things that you experience as a result of living and being ultimately are going to be the thing that shape the man that you become.
Of course.
And then also the athlete and so on. So yes, it does shape. How did it shape? In every way that I would imagine a person's backstory would. You know, so the picture of that past shapes and colors in every way.
Gotcha. So no He-Man dolls?
Well, you know what? He-Man was a very, very, very influential part of my growing up experience. But to say that would also talk about everything that was
every
alive
experience
about the pop culture, you know. So, you know, yeah, Saturday morning cartoons, you know, at that time is something that a lot of people don't know of today. A lot of the kids that grow up now,
They don't
know about the significance of what Saturday morning cartoons would have meant to kids that probably only had or actually there were probably 6 television stations when I was a kid. Now,
yeah, I didn't have cable. I just whatever came out the wall. That's what it was. Well, we were talking earlier. Isn't it interesting? Now people go out and like, oh, you were born in the 1900s.
Yeah. Right. You were talking about that yesterday. Yes,
I was. I was born in the, that's a little scary. That's a thought there.
Yeah,
people are born in the 2000s now.
You see, 20.
Yeah, 2021, year of opportunities for Kai Greene.
Well, 21, absolutely. I believe that it will be what you say it's going to be. And, you know, one of the things I like to live by and like reaffirm for myself every day when I look in the mirror, you know, I recognize the responsibility in my thinking because my thoughts are powerful and my thoughts become the things that, you know, will actually shape the picture of my life. So that said, I mean, when you recognize that power, then I can say with confidence in this moment, you know, I believe absolutely
100%.
2021 will be a very big year of limitless possibility for Kai Greene. And I think I would want to welcome anyone at the sound of my voice that hears that and could somewhat imagine, hey, I recognize that there's some power in that for me too. Then let's touch and agree and let's just say that together, you know, because that recognizes our power to create what we will. You know, good, bad, or indifferent, you know, there is something to be said for recognizing the control that we have, the influence that we have on our situations, our circumstances, and how we adapt and create the picture of our life.
100%. A little speech that I used to give sometimes at universities was see it, believe it, and achieve it. And it's very simple. And that's why I asked about the He-Man. When I was a child, I saw World's Strongest Man on TV, blew my mind away. And then instantaneously, just in the matter of my life, my father was like, you can do that. I'm a little, chubby little kid about yay tall. Can't even do a push-up, but I saw it. I believed it. And now the goal is to achieve it, but it's up to me, who I surround myself with, the opportunities that either take or don't, and the work that we put in. And that's it.
Absolutely.
We've paved our own futures.
Absolutely.
And as much as hard as that may seem, and it is not a simple thing to do, but if more people just take a grasp of their own life, I think the world will be a much better place because of it. What a deep conversation.
Hey, that's deep this morning. It was early this morning. I had to get up to get here, because I still travel from Brooklyn.
But, so you do still live there?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Do you still have that apartment that you used to do all those videos in? You cooking your fish and all that little stuff?
You know what? I had that for a very long time.
Yeah.
But at the present moment, no.
Should have made it like you set it up, have like a fake piece of fish on the stove. The early days of Kai Greene.
Yeah. It's certainly important to know where you're going.
Yes.
And even if you become confused along the way about, the who you are, and where you come from, I think one of the lessons that I had to learn was that, it's so important to be clear about at least where you want to go. And I say this because I came up as a young person that could very easily have said, I don't know who my father is, and the backstory home, interests is very, very scattered and fragmented, and in an effort to make the case to support what I just said, because somebody might say, well, you definitely need to know where you come from. You should never lose sight of that. Sometimes it is not an option, you know what I mean? And I say that because there was a time when I think I had to be very clear about recognizing for myself what it's going to mean to be me. Forget about the things that I still questioned, the questions that I had still unanswered, who my father is, what great so-and-so was, where's my mama, hey, who's going to give me a hug, and why didn't I get that? I had to change that conversation, particularly when I found myself at times in my life when I really needed to focus on the things that I needed to do to become the person that I wanted to be and to go in the direction that I really wanted to go most. The question marks that I could not fill, I could not allow myself to be held hostage and my better potential to be held hostage to those question marks. So I kind of had to let that go,
You registered it, moved it, focused on the future.
Exactly.
100%.
And the future, recognizing by harnessing my power in the moment like I need to in order to do the things that are important to me that I have to do now, I can predict what the future will be to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Very cool. So I did get some questions from our Instagram, some of our followers. So one of the overwhelming one was, what is a rough and simple explanation or synopses of your training split or routine? How many days a week? Is it very structured, or is it based off of how you're just feeling on that particular day?
It depends. I think I'm at a place in my life experience where I've kind of been training I stopped counting after 20 years, And
it's been a while.
With that, there's a lot of things that I would imagine I would use to account for the lessons I've learned within the last 20 years of my training experience. I think that I am not always capable of commanding immediately, in my recollection, exactly why I did this or that at another time in my training. However, I recognized that at a time that I was doing that, I was able to kind of, create a specific response. I think sometimes you can lose touch with some of those things and almost have to relearn or recondition to a degree. But I guess in the best way to answer that question, I think that what I would like to say is that there is some intuition that I pull from now when I'm on the gym floor. based on how I feel, you know. But then there also is, you know, another thing that informs that tuition, which would be having some kind of idea of what I'd like to do before getting to the gym floor. But I think ultimately what happens when I'm on the gym floor and how I would answer this question is it's a combination of all three.
Gotcha. So there's no particular, I do chest twice a week, I do this, how many days a week? Because I know I've seen you come in and you're like, well, I'm just doing calves today. Well, no, hey, I mean, sometimes you need to just work on that specific muscle group.
Yeah. I think there's certain fundamentals that need to. There's certain fundamentals that
Somebody got paid.
Wow. Yeah. So there's certain. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
We're professional here, and this is a family show. Smile for the camera. Yeah, I think there's certain fundamentals that you just can't get away from, and that you shouldn't stray too far away from. I think that, having said that, there are some, what do you call that? There are some examples of more complicated ways to approach developing your physique.
Gotcha.
That I think build on the fundamentals that are required. And sometimes, you know, there's a stutter step that you do in between the two of those, you know. Yeah, so you definitely want to train your calves. Well, I would definitely want to train my calves. But to what end specifically, I think would be determined by where I'm at, you know, in the cycling of my training.
Your physical development.
What shape I'm in, what time in the year I'm in other words, what season, and what things I may have on the horizon that I might need to get ready for. You know, I think right now I'm like really exploring this world of entertainment, and with that, you know, one of the things I've discovered is like you don't have the luxury of just saying, hey, well, I'm in off season or I'm in bulking phase. And that's the excuse for me being a fat bastard. So excuse me if I walk in here and I don't have any abs visible when I take my shirt off. I say this because, in truth, that's kind of how I've learned the world will receive me. When I walk in and my photos or videos on social media platform are, you know, depicting me a certain way.
Yeah, that's Kai Greene. That's what I expect. Right. I want that Kai Greene for this film, for this commercial, for whatever. Yeah.
You know, and if I walk in there and I have to explain, well,
I spilled over a little.
And it's not, it really hasn't been received as well as I would like to. So I think that taking that information back to the gym with me, it does inform some of the ways that I move. Even with answering a question like what you just asked about, like my calf training, you know, just training calves today. Well, maybe I would, but at the same time, I said I got to make sure I do my cardio, got to make sure I'm staying on top of, you know, moving at a specific pace, you know, because I'm thinking about that BMR, thinking about, you know, a host of other things that are supported by science that have an impact on how I, you know, maintain that appearance, you know, both in and out of the, you know, the scene that is, you know, my sport.
Yeah. I am going to bring up a very interesting question that was part of mine that I wanted to ask you. You are one of the very few extremely powerful and strong bodybuilders. Now, there's a lot of strong guys out there, but I would still put you in the echelons of the Ronnie Colemans, the Jay Cutlers, all those types of guys that really heavy basic training. Now, that being said, anywhere in your development, did you ever consider powerlifting, strength sports, anything like that? Because I've seen you in some of those sets, and you do what I do. You go from, so you want to
get it.
Like, I think in one of them, you were like, I want to rip his head off. And I'm like, okay, I can relate to that. So have you ever thought about doing anything like that?
Yeah, well, you know what?
Because you are a strong... this is a PG show. I'm not going to curse too much, but you're a strong right?
Wow.
I'm just saying.
It's a family show. Hey, Minikai,
but you
go to
are-
bed. Minikai.
But you are very, very strong, my
Hey,
friend.
thanks for saying that.
I mean, I've seen you put, 4 or 5 plates on the incline press and just, I mean, the squats, the deadlifts, all that stuff.
On a good day.
On a good day.
On a good day. On a good day.
So have you ever thought about training for some type of strength competition or anything?
Honestly, I don't really pride myself on being super, super strong. I think, so here's the thing. As a bodybuilder, you know, it's funny because there's a reference that I will just say.
I think I even
There's
know
a reference. We know a tree by the fruit it bears. You know? So if you know what I'm saying and you know where I'm coming from, somebody might just say, hey, I know where that is, brother. You know, if you do, just touch your neighbor and say, I know where he's going. And I'm just going to say this to you because I think in my life, I've kind of learned a little bit of the reason why that's a good point for me to kind of be clear about when I come into the gym and I'm training. To answer your question about if I've ever thought about, you know, doing strength competition, I was very clear earlier on in my training life that I am a competitive bodybuilder. I was aspiring competitive bodybuilder. And even if, you know, we understand that sometimes in the road to developing, you know, more size, you know, and development, you know, you do have to increase the level of resistance and stuff, and, you know, progressively cycle those things. I still do not change the idea of who I am in that respect. So I am and have been, you know, an aspiring, developing bodybuilder, competitive bodybuilder to that end. And with that, I'm not and have never been a strong man, you know. And I say that because there's a certain amount of respect that I think being a strong man needs to be, you need to have in order to acknowledge it. You know what I mean? A strong man is led by a whole other set of disciplines than what I would be concerned with as a bodybuilder, you know, approaching my training, you know. Same thing with a power lifter. You know, a power lifter and a gymnast are not the same animal. You know, even though we may talk about movement and muscle and control, you know, the use of your mind, there's still, you know, very different disciplines that require a specific approach. And that approach will govern the mechanics. It'll govern everything.
Many things. I mean, even the modes of nutrition you're taking in and all those types of things. You know, having a little love in the middle, it helps. It helps. I mean, I remember, you know, as I think it goes without saying, some of the speeches you've given over the years have motivated thousands and millions of people, myself included. But I remember one of them. I think you were training at Bev's. I think it was at Bev's or maybe another gym. You were training with a younger aspiring bodybuilder, and you were like, "I'll never be a weightlifter. I'll never be a." And he was trying to curl heavy weight, and then you gave him like 15s. And I mean, even me as a strength athlete, I still sometimes have to. All right, I'm doing this tricep extension. But why am I doing this tricep extension? Am I trying to create this neuromuscular connection, flex that muscle, squeeze it? Because when I'm unracking that bench press and I'm gripping that bar and I'm coming down, or am I just going through the motions, trying to get a pump and really not succeeding in doing anything?
Well, you certainly are doing something.
Something.
You know, but being clear about what it is that we're trying to do, I think one of the things for me that's really helped me significantly in attaining some of the goals that I had on the table and still have today is being clear about who I am when I am, you know, beginning the path of my training. You know what I mean? If I am the guy that answers that question, who am I right now? Well, let's see. In order to get perspective on this thing and make some good decisions, when I ask myself in the gym, well, who am I? Am I, in this moment, guess what? I'm the dude that wants to impress the people that are watching me as I act like I don't see them. You know, if I am answering that question to myself that way, then yeah, I realize there's a lot of other things that become possible, like training too heavy, you know, and bringing myself closer to not being as effective with my training as I would otherwise want to be. And I think the way to be clear about that starts with, before I pick up the weight, touch the weight, just being capable of stopping and just understanding, in a way that's clearest. Hey, I am the athlete that's aspiring to improve my game. These are the necessary steps that I know that will help me do that. I need to get 13 reps here. I need to, at rep 9, I need to feel like this is possibly very, very challenging and questioning whether or not I can continue. But I know my goal is to get to 13. I'm going to force myself to work to 13, and getting to 13 can't be that I get there and realize I can do another 30 reps if I had to. And I think in order to be clear about that, I'm an athlete working with this specific goal. And as a result of doing that, I don't make the mistake of getting distracted and trying to accomplish other stuff, like impressing the girl next to me in the gym.
The world around me and everything.
Yes.
So, Kai, you have competed now for how many years have you been on a stage? It's been a long time. Over 20 years have you been competing?
Well, I ain't Dexter Jackson now.
Okay, that's
shout out to Dexter Jackson.
Ooh, just retired, right?
Retired, yes, absolutely.
Still looks phenomenal.
Absolutely.
And just to segue back real quick, the training that he prides himself on is not really going heavy, but longevity. 100% right there. Look at that guy. 50 or 51?
He lies, man.
I think he's
the original crypt keeper. I believe he's 77 years old. The truth. That's the truth. Behind the scenes, he's 77 years old.
I don't know how old he is. I've heard that.
50 plus for the last 9 years.
I could say the same thing about you, Mr. Greene.
Whoa.
I've heard.
Whoa.
It doesn't matter,
I ain't
though.
nowhere near 55. I ain't nowhere near. You know what?
You look 35.
Wow.
I'll give you 37.
Wow.
I'll give you 37.
See, I should have saved this morning.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what you just told me that. I used to, I'm a note to self.
Note to self.
Note to self.
Shave, put on a little lotion,
Yeah.
little blush.
Some Just for Men might not hurt.
Take off a couple years.
Just a little.
But you've been on huge stages, the biggest stages in the world. Just to go over a few, correct me if I'm wrong. 2009, 10, and 16, Arnold wins.
Wow.
Correct? And then he's like, probably. And then 12, 13, and 14, all second places at the Olympia.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, that's some major accomplishments. The people want to know. Not a yes or no question. This one's actually from Gluteus Maximus on Instagram.
Shout out Gluteus Maximus.
So, 2021 or the future, do you think there's a possibility, because the future is bright, as we just said, and thoughts become things, is there any possibility that we may see you on a stage one day?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'll take that.
Absolutely.
I will take that.
Man.
You are exciting people that you have not excited in a long time just by saying that.
Oh, really? Wow.
We're waiting, Kai.
You said waiting. Well, you know what? You don't have to wait too long. In fact, on the 19th of February, we're actually going to be on a great and grand stage. It's international. We'll actually be the release of Pogaroo, which is
the movie, correct?
Yes, it's a South Indian film.
Ooh.
And, the Kannada Films is like the filming house responsible for it. A great director named Nanda Kishore, and a wonderful, amazing star lead. He's like the South Indian Jackie Chan. His name is Dhruva Sarja, an amazing actor, an incredible performer, and he is the lead. And, yeah, man, we got a chance to go out there and perform with him in an amazing film that is just about to be released on the 19th.
Okay, so it's already filmed, going to be released.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
February 19th.
Absolutely, yes, indeed.
Beautiful. So guys,
it's called Pogaroo.
Pogaroo.
Yes,
we will definitely be streaming that. At Signature
hey,
Fitness.
Hey,
definitely. Is this just a background? Is it action, comedy?
It is an action adventure hero / beat up the bad guys, and I am one of the bad guys that get a chance to get beat up. But I
was hoping you'd be the hero.
Cool. Well, you know what? You got to start somewhere.
Well, that's actually a great question. Is it? You've played a couple of roles now.
Oh yeah.
Is it more fun for you to be the hero or the villain?
I think it's. Well, first, just having the opportunity is tremendous, you know, and even to find myself in a place, you know, with that kind of opportunity at this time in my life is tremendous, you know, because there was a time when I can recall looking in the mirror and having more than 200 stitches in my face and having to struggle to recognize who the hell was looking back at me, and then trying to imagine, one, trying to get a job, you know, going forward, or what my life was going to look like, you know, now dealing with, you know, just some of the insecurities that came along with that. It just was a huge source of insecurities for me. So the idea originally would have been like, oh man, there goes those ideas. If you had any delusions of grandeur of ever, you know, building yourself to a place where you can kind of see, you know, any opportunity to be on a cover of a magazine or in a magazine or on any kind of stage or you know, camera, where somebody says, hey, you know what, I'll put a camera on you. It's worth that for me. I'll pay some money to do that. I'm like, no, it was at another time in my life thought to be maybe close to impossible. So to be where we are now and to be able to announce, you know, these kinds of things and to be on the other side of, you know, having the ability to stand and film and to be on more, you know, covers of magazines than I would care to mention, you know, it's just a testament to the fact that it's very, 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 very important, more than anything else, to be clear about what you want to do and to recognize that you are in the driving seat. You know, there's a lot of things that you can't control, but the things that you can control are the things that you want to focus on and do to the best of your ability. And with that, you can, sure enough, with almost mathematical certainty, create the reality that you're working for, that you choose. You know?
Beautiful. So February 19th, say the name.
Pogaroo.
Pogaroo,
right.
February
Yes,
19th.
indeed.
Check
Yes,
it out.
indeed.
So we have the bodybuilding. And as we talked about earlier, growing up in Brooklyn, the culture, everything sculpted who you are today. And we are, as you just mentioned, creating our road moving forward. Art is also a huge thing in your life, correct? Now, did a little bit of the research. 2011, you gave an exhibition of some of your own work.
Oh, yeah.
And you quoted, as a bodybuilder, I am a master sculptor. You've now also released, obviously, the Chronicles of King Kai, along with many other things. New projects. What can we see? Will it be something along the lines of when we're all old and gray? Oh, that's a Kai Greene there. It's worth $1.2 million.
Well, your lips to God.
Yeah, let's hear it, right?
Touch some neighbor.
But yeah, what's new in the art world? What projects do you have coming up?
Well, so currently, behind the scenes, we're working on a project that is, you know, working toward the development of Chronicles of King Kai as an animated series.
Ooh,
yeah,
very nice.
I almost hesitate to say any more than that.
we'll leave it there.
That I said too much, but I'm really excited about that. And you know, as we speak, I'm also in the process of working on a awesome documentary with Vladar Films. Yeah, we get a chance to chronicle a lot of things. My earlier relationship with Generation Iron has been, you know, just very hugely rewarding. And it has been like the stepping stone that has allowed me to really see my way into developing a lot of the things that will, for me, explain, you know, what the limitless possibility looks like. You know, I realize now, more importantly, with these opportunities, that this is what I was competing for. These were the reasons why I was competing earlier in my career. You know, I think that a lot of times in your life, you know, people will ask you in an interview, you know, well, why bodybuilding, or why do you compete? You know, and another time in my life, I would have said, hey, well, I'm trying to win a trophy. I want to be the best, you know. But what does that mean? I think on the other side of some of the things that I have now been fortunate enough to see as accomplishments, to my credit, I realized that those were the stepping stones to make room for the larger understanding that would be necessary to really step forward in the effort to create the things that I really would have thought that I wanted to do, but probably would hesitate to have said for fear that it would sound like a dream that's too big. Sometimes when you speak and you share, an idea that you have in your heart about what you would like to see manifested in your life to people that aren't really invested in helping you or seeing, the significance of what you're sharing with them, they could very sooner, turn around and discourage you or say something, well, how dare you think, so much of yourself to even imagine that something so large, can be within your grasp to do. And sometimes with that, they'll look and point out some things to you that might look like, because you have these, detractors going on. Did you see your nose is so wide? Did you see you're only 5'8"? What are you thinking to do? Oh, did you notice you have an 8-inch scar down the right side of your face? They'll start to point out all those things that would sooner give life to the feelings of insecurity inside of yourself. And it sometimes, if you're not, able to focus again and be clear about what you want to do, and why it's important to you, you could sooner find yourself a lot more likely to become discouraged. And, oh, you know what? You're right. I do have an 8-inch scar on the right side of it. How dare me to think so grand an idea of a possibility for me? You know what? You're right. I'm only 5'8". That's really kind of short when you consider, how dare I think so large of being able to tender a dream so large. I just lost my thought.
There are new works on the horizon.
Absolutely.
And let's get back on track.
I actually just signed with Redcon 1.
Oh my God, that's right. I apologize. We just talked about that not that long ago.
Dude, I'm on cloud 9 because this is it's a huge opportunity to do some, huge things. I had my own supplement company.
Yes.
And there was a time when, quiet is kept, we built a community, that believed in our product and was in the very committed to supporting the growth of the said company, and in an effort to say thank you, and to acknowledge the support that we'd had, and that we still pull from today. I say this because when moving with Redcon, technically what we were able to do was we were able to merge everything together.
Oh, yeah, because I know a lot of, even some of my friends here, they're, big fans of the other brand, use all the pre-workouts, wear the clothes, all those types of things. So that's going to be...
War is what's up. But, originally, because one of the things a lot of people don't know is that with, my company originally, Aaron Singerman was my partner behind the scenes.
Oh.
Yeah, and we had come together in an effort to do something really, really cool. And, there's a lot of things that were happening pre-COVID, and man, it was a huge opportunity before, my last Olympia, experience. And then there was just this whole whirlwind of things that actually opened up that I could not control. But, resulting in my not being able to participate in the Olympia that time, but it was still able to go forward with continuing to grow and develop in new ways. And fast forward, with a lot of the other changes that have happened, coming to Redcon now is my opportunity to come back and revisit some of the original ideas that Aaron and I had gotten a chance to talk about and kind of build on, so many years ago. And now we're able to do it in the name of Redcon 1. I mean, they've gone on to create a really, really tremendous
they're a big brand.
Yeah.
They're definitely one of the... Oh, yeah.
And a huge community that now I expect to grow and merge into and become a part of and lead in a very interesting and substantive way. You know, so
Very cool.
Yeah, it's a golden opportunity, and it's I'm really excited about that. Shout out to Redcon One.
Yeah. Oh, it was just Aaron's birthday too, correct?
Yeah, Aaron's birthday was
Happy birthday,
yesterday.
Aaron.
Happy birthday, sucker. Nah. I'm just kidding.
I'm going to pull one more question from our Instagram. This one is from Frank at Lift Evil.
Lift Evil. What's up, Frank?
Who is your favorite comic artist?
Oh, Todd McFarlane.
And for the people like me who have no idea who that is.
Oh, dude, he's the creator of Spawn.
There we go. Okay,
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, I mean,
Todd McFarlane.
But I have a lot. But right off the bat,
like
when you consider being your own kind of maverick, in so to speak, and carving out your own niche, and creating a product that not only is able to support your interests, but then also when you think about creating opportunity for other artists and the ability to share in the IP and all the things that he was doing at the time that he'd done or chose to do it, it was groundbreaking. Yeah, I mean, as far as artistic styles and things, and the way a lot of different artists approach doing their work, I mean, I have a lot of favorites, but it's probably too many to try to name offhand. But I personally, I'm always able to find something really cool about somebody that, even like when I was just an up and coming athlete, when I was a teenage bodybuilder, I remember living in an institutional facility. So rewind just a little bit. So there was a time when, as a younger man, found myself kind of not being very responsible with some of the choices that I made, and as a result, living in like juvenile correction facilities was something that ended up being a very real, I guess, picture of the life that I knew at the time. With that, there was a lot of limitations, but a lot of lessons can be taught from that for the person that was, willing to take them on and learn from them. One of the things that I want to say with doing that is that when I decided that I wanted to become a identified aspiring bodybuilding athlete, one of the things that I saw that I thought naturally was a very big help to me was when I would get these magazines and I would open them up and I would look at the pictures of all the people that were in the magazine. They were men, they were women, and for every one of them that had somehow in some way manifested their dream enough to have gotten themselves developed to a place where they were now featured in this magazine, even if it was just something as simple as a photo, with not even as much of a notable mention of their name. When I saw those photos, I thought that I had to do something in respect of that. And somehow by doing that acknowledgement in some way, I felt like it helped me. So the basic things that I remember when I was a little kid, I was able to do was like push-ups. And I did these push-ups. And I would select a certain amount of push-ups, for each one photo that I saw in the magazine of the person that inspired me. You saw photos of people like Sean Ray and Lee Haney and like all the greats, but then, you also had a lot of women, the Kay Baxters and the Laura Cravels and the Sharon Bruneaus. And I mean, for me, that was amazing. Women bodybuilding was like the bridge. So there was my prepubescent teenage Kermit the Frog shouldered character, which is what I was. If I saw myself, at 9, 10, 11, and then on the other extreme, there was the picture of what I aspired to be that looked more like Berto Fox or Arnold Schwarzenegger or Akeem Albrecht, and then in between that though there was this huge gap, this valley that could almost be thought of as uncrossable, and one of the things that I discovered when I started doing these push-ups for each and every image that I saw in the magazines that I thought was like inspiring or motivating or encouraging. I saw this picture of a woman bodybuilder, and realized when you started to learn a little bit more about science and stuff, you understood that, wow, you know what? In order for her to start from wherever she started to develop in what was now able to be thought enough to capture in a magazine, that meant that she had to grow. She had to work against, a whole nother set of challenges and obstacles that I wouldn't even have to consider being a prepubescent or a teenager, who's technically, genetically hardwired to do the very thing that I wanted to do, which was to grow and develop and mature muscularly. This woman, athlete, whomever she was, whether she was Corey Everson, Carla Dunlap, the list goes on, Bev Francis, there was so much inspiration. And I dare say not even inspiration, but that idea of encouragement to recognize and acknowledge their use, their right-thinking use of their power to become what they became. But now their example was able to help me create that bridge that existed between where I was as this prepubescent, Kermit the Frog-shouldered idea of myself and this hulking, larger-than-life, 297-pound professional bodybuilder the day of competition with crushed striated glutes. This was the impossible. The bridge, from where I started to where I could go, really rested right there in women's bodybuilding. It was so encouraging and instrumental for me when I thought about, being able to shape my mind around being able to accept the possibility that I could do that.
That's pretty amazing when you go back and revisit those memories, to think, just as I said before, you saw something, you started to believe it, and now you're achieving women's bodybuilding. All those places, that river that you said you couldn't cross, those are those lily pads along the way as a frog, and becoming a prince. Which princess kissed you? I don't know.
Hey!
Hello.
Wow.
But no, it is truly
I'm a gentleman. I'm not supposed to kiss and tell.
It really is truly inspiring, though, because you have come a very long way physically, and then I think you would agree as well, like as we've talked many times before, as pertaining to your craft, have grown tremendously. And that's what I continue to work on now being on a mic, and my vocal skills and all those types of things.
What you're doing so well, by
the way. Thank you very much. We'll drop the tone a little lower right now.
Wow. Okay. So Barry, do your thing.
Yes. We're talking wrestling with Kai the Predator Greene.
It's going down, brother.
But it's just great to see. I think we as children need to find those role models, and unfortunately, we a lot of times pick someone and then we meet them and they're kind of a disappointment, or they just didn't live up to what you thought they would. And you as being one of my role models and many others, I consider myself fortunate to have met many of these people.
Oh, wow.
Yourself.
I can't take that lightly.
It's
crazy.
Okay.
That's
you.
I just snuck that in there. Like
I can give you my top three.
Wow.
My top three exactly. Actually, it would be Derek Poundstone, who we've mentioned before, who I've fortunately gotten some time to work with as a coach. Who once again met him, and phenomenal guy. If you haven't met him already, Edward Cohen. Greatest powerlifter of all time, met and exceeded every expectation. The guy will bust your balls.
He's a joker.
He's a joker in the best way. Like when I say, like, we were hanging out here at Signature Fitness, he came for our seminar. Will, he smacks me in the ass. You don't have an ass. And he goes, look at your girlfriend. She's got one and you don't.
Wow.
I said, thanks a lot, Ed. I guess I'll go do whatever I got to do, some glute bridges. And then yourself, Kai the Predator Greene, someone who I... in my own development, as I've shown dropping weight, adding weight, this, that, whatever, body transformations, there was a time in my life where, I'm sure you've seen the Machiavelli videos and all those those inspirational things where they pull from the clips. And I would just have those on repeat, day in, day out, day in, day out, you know, of yourself speaking and just all these people. And I just want to say personally, thank you, because it really does. You might not realize it. I'm sure you had someone say this before, but you and the other two and anyone's heroes truly shape children growing into men, sometimes with the words and the actions that you portray. And I encourage every single one of you out there to find someone who can inspire you, because no one truly, can motivate you, but they can inspire you to motivate yourself. And if you can find someone like that, hold on to it and ride that train as long as you can. Because eventually the videos won't work anymore, the images won't work anymore, but you'll continually find something, along your road of development that you can grab and claw towards and keep going. We just had last week Sean the Giant Killer.
The
Clarita.
Giant Killer.
New. And new. 212. Mr. Olympia.
Yeah, you said it.
And he's another one. He talked about being the underdog and, being 101 pounds or something like that, wrestling in high school, soaking wet. And now look at him. I mean, he is something else.
His story is not only amazing for the obvious reasons, but it is, he has grown through every one of the preliminary phases of this experience in the most vivid way. You know what I mean? He is not an overnight sensation, and he, of all people, right now in the current, scheme of things at that level, has really painstakingly grown through, what do you call that when someone goes through that? Not only goes through the paces, but they grow through all of those varying stages. This gentleman has been competing and training for a very long time. And the success that we get a chance to see celebrated in his name today is not just something that was overnight. And it's not something that really just came by accident or because anybody gave him anything. He's really been working for a very long time. His story is a testimony, to what it looks like to be clear about what you want to do and apply yourself to painstakingly go through those paces that allow you to grow, move through the blocks and grow through the trenches. He is a genuine article.
Oh yeah.
Genuine article.
And for anybody who hasn't seen him train, I mean, that's a sight to be seen. We touched on it a little bit of the last time, but very short. I trained with him once or twice.
Really?
I did. He honored me with being able to do, of course, of all days, leg day, which I love, is my favorite day. Made me puke, the whole nine.
Wow, really?
But I mean, and it's just like you had mentioned before about the women's bodybuilding and these classic guys. Mm-hmm. I need now to register that in my memory bank. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Not as a challenge, but as okay, this is where I'm at in my development. Mm-hmm. I was able to accomplish 75% of this workout. Mm-hmm. What do I need to do now to match that and push forward, really unlocking that next level of development, but more importantly, mental capabilities. I think very much so that we are, not just very much so, 100% capped off on our abilities by our mind and our mental state. That being said, going back to my first time squatting 600 pounds, I was, my PR at the time was 500. I was at Montclair State University with Dr. Dan Gilbert, and he talked about the formula for life. And just to go it very quickly, everyone has the ability to do whatever you want to do in your life. You have to then implement a strategy. You have to GOYA, get off your ass, and then you implement that strategy. Now, you're going to get a result, and it's positive or negative. But what's the first thing that everybody does? They go right back, I just can't do it when they get a negative result. Instead, you have to always remember that you need to go back and realize that you have the ability. You just need to implement a new strategy. And when I left that presentation, something within me just clicked, triggered. And I got my buddy Rich, and I said, all right, we're going to the gym, and I'm going to squat 600 pounds. Nobody adds 100 pounds to their max in a day. It just doesn't happen. But something within me just said, no, you're capable. You're strong enough. There's a mental barrier. And I said, shut up and get in the car. We're going. We drove down to the gym, LA Fitness in Clifton, put up the weights, started my warm-up sets, boom, got up to 600, racked it, and walked out the gym. And ever since that day, I have realized nothing is impossible as long as I implement the strategy and remember in my mind that I can do it, whether it's 600 to then being 825 pounds a few years later in my competition to now realizing in that exact moment, I said, wow, 825, 175 pounds away from 1,000. And that's one of my life goals, to squat 1,000 pounds. But I want more people in this world to experience what it is to truly tap into your entire being. Wow. When it's either on a stage, posing, flexing. I saw the video with you and Sean. You're touching his obliques and you're making sure, all right, you're doing this side tricep, but are you really doing a side tricep? Are you using every single ounce, right? Because if you let that go, there he is. He let it go. That's it. And so whether it's posing on a stage, lifting a heavy weight, staying up all night and drawing something that needs to be submitted the next day, whatever it is, you need people, our society, I think, will be better off if they understand what it really means to give not 110, but every ounce. And then if what happens is not what you were hoping for, you can never go back and blame yourself. Well, I did the work. Got to implement a new strategy. So for new strategies in 2021, Kai Greene is stepping on a stage. All right. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, one of the things that I've been fortunate enough to discover is, now with looking at the possibilities of entertainment and it being available to experience, more of what the expression of that thing looks like in my life, even the ability to pick up your social media platform and be, able to recognize the opportunity there. Everything, Shakespeare, you talk about all the world's a stage. The truth is, you are on the stage, particularly as a personality of note, as I am working to develop myself and see that as one of the things that I'm in the process of doing. Technically, you're on stage more often than not. And I think one of the things that I realized too, even as the stage-ready physique or competitive professional bodybuilder that I aspired to be at another time in my life, one of the things that happened that I think would help to inform some of the things that I did on stage, or at least on that stage, was the fact that I was able to recognize that I spent a lot more time on the stage prior to that, and I think now looking back and creating like a blueprint template in my mind of helping an athlete getting ready for their show. One of the things you don't want to do is be the guy that only imagines yourself on stage the day of the said competitive experience. You know what I mean? You truly have to be on the stage more times than that to develop some of what becomes the information that you know and internalize as the necessary stuff to do behind the scenes, and to better inform what you're doing when you are there for that one moment, your competition. For that reason, I would encourage a person that was getting ready for their first bodybuilding show to go to a karaoke bar or go to a karaoke performance and familiarize yourself with just being able to get on stage, become the center of attention, and with that, I think it's easier to take off some of the anxiety and the pressure of, oh my God, what if I make a mistake? You're gonna make mistakes. Even the pro in the top, performing at the peak of his game, will make mistakes, you know, so you're never going to be totally accident proof. But by practice and dutiful effort of preparing yourself properly, you can make a situation where even when you do make mistakes, they can become happy discoveries that help to improve your performance.
100%. I mean, from Larry Bird to Kai Greene to whoever you can think of, they all make mistakes. Every single one of them. But if you learn from them, you develop yourself into a better athlete, a better person, whatever it may be. So I have a quick personal question, because I have been noticing that you've been walking around Signature Fitness with your headsets on always. I mean, and I got to have my tunes on. I heard you humming. There is talent behind that voice.
Oh, yeah, wow.
There's a little,
hey!
It's in there. So are we going to hear a Kai Greene album?
You know what?
I want to be a part of it. There's something behind here nobody's heard of.
Wow. Well, you know, that is something very interesting to consider. Your lips to God's ears, you know.
Because I hear you humming. You know, we talked the other day what kind of music you were listening to. Will you be doing any type of vocal recording? I mean, he does. If you don't know, he's got a beautiful voice.
Man, he's being so kind.
No, it's
so
there.
Kind.
When you can hum well, you can sing well.
I would like to consider myself in the process of kind of trying to develop some things. I wouldn't want to rule it out. I wouldn't want to rule it out.
Okay. That'd be pretty awesome. That would be pretty awesome. Well, Kai, I really, really appreciate you coming on today. And before we finish, a couple last things. Number one, what is your goal for 2021? And two, what can you tell our members here at Signature Fitness and the people watching across the globe to strive for in this new year of opportunity and excitement, because that really is the road ahead of all of us if we grab those reins. So 2021, what's in store? What's the goal for Kai Greene? And what can we leave the members at home?
Well, wow.
Loaded question.
Well, you know what? I think what's in store for the future ahead for anybody that's listening to our voice right now, I think, you know, it's important to understand that that's going to be what you say.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that allowed me to realize why it was so important to start pinning out the story that ultimately became Chronicles of King Kai. Originally, I wrote it as a 6-issue graphic novel. You know, a graphic novel is something that is technically 6 issues, you know, put together, and that will represent your larger story. But a comic book is something that is, you know, a single issue, you know, and it's usually about, you know, anywhere between 12 and maybe 16 pages, could be 23 pages. I believe a full graphic novel is something like 142, something like that. Anyway, my point with saying this is that in the first issue of Chronicles of King Kai, of what became the graphic novel that was 6 issues, the first issue for me allowed me to revisit my personal story and recognize 3 questions that are very, very important, were very important for myself in that given situation that I found myself in, and to talk about the journey that it took between issue 1 and issue 6 to go about exploring the ways to answer those questions through the living experience of what became my life. Chronicles of King Kai is a colorful metaphoric reference of everything that I think is the more important story about my experience with the journey towards becoming the better man that could become the better athlete, and that could become a person that has a message that is valuable enough to share with a group of people with the effort of helping to improve, you know, whatever it is that they're looking to do. So I'm saying this to say that those 3 questions I discovered in the living of my experience that I chronicle in that story, Chronicles of King Kai. The only person that could answer those questions, is me. You know, one of those questions in particularly, which was the big thing, what happens to me going forward from this experience that opens up in issue 1? You know, I was a little boy in a police precinct after my biological mother was arrested. And basically, at that time, there was no knight in shining armor, you know, that was going to come and save me. In that moment, you know, I could recall Princess Leia in the original Star Wars, you know, sending a message in an R2, you know, droid, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you are my only hope. You know, you assisted my father in the original Clone Wars. Anyway, my point is that in that situation in my life, you know, there was a call to action, you know, with the hope that some warrior, some savior, some knight in shining armor could come and save me. My point, though, is that to answer the question of what would happen to me going forward from that experience, I, through that living experience, ended up discovering that, yeah, the knight in shining armor did come. You know, the call to action for the warrior was sent out, and it was heard loudest and clearest, you know, and it was heard more importantly by the person that could be the most effective in helping me from that state of crisis to move to the place where I could be today with the scars, with the whatever, and still identify a notable success that speaks of triumph, you know, over the obstacles, you know. So that said, I say this because when you ask, hey, what are we going to tell the people? You know, what message would we want to leave them with the takeaway? Yo, man, what will happen in 2021 will be what you say it will be. No way to sugarcoat that.
Yep.
You know, so if you're thinking, yo, man, you know, guess what? Man, I can't, I will, I won't. Then that will be, you know, because you have a control, you have and this is why that power needs to be used responsibly. It's not worth arguing against. And most times I feel when I've gotten a chance to say that directly to a friend of mine or anyone in person, you know, you have a power and you have the ability to control. No, you don't understand, Kai. They want to spend hours arguing with me about, no, but what about the situations in your life you don't have control over? Case in point, yes, they do exist. But rather than focus on those things, why not focus on the thing that you can control? And the fact that you do is where you start. You have the power. Don't argue against it. Don't deny it. You know, don't force yourself to live as a victim, you know, to a truth that is really a manufactured one. I have no control. Well, then you will not be able to recognize your power, you know. So yeah, 2021 will belong, the success in 2021 will belong to the person that's willing to recognize their power and make it so. You know what I mean? So if you're talking about, you know, improving, losing 2 or 3 dress sizes, you know, and I'm going to come to Signature Fitness, I'm going to get my membership going on this year, and I'm going to follow through. You know, I'm going to get up in the gym. I'm going to 3 days a week, 2 times out of the week, I'm going to make sure that I do. The power there rests in your ability to follow through, to do it, to recognize that, guess what, man? This is your power. This is your thing that you can control, you know? And the person that recognizes and effectively, you know, lives in that and uses that and recognizes that, that's the person that's going to be that much more effective at being able to make what I'm saying a truth that you have to look back on and say, you know what, that was true. And I appreciate that. 2021 will be what you say it will be, you know? So the question to ask yourself is, well, what the hell do I want? Who am I in the situation that I'm in when I'm ready to argue with myself or talk to myself about defending a point that, I mean, I'm not in control. I don't know. You know, you can't control no, man, it'll be what you say it's going to be, you know? So recognize your power and use it responsibly. With that, man, 2021 will be the success that you will make it. And that's what I'm calling into existence for myself.
Beautiful.
Speak those things which be not as though they were. Speak those things which be not as though they were. Don't hold your good gift hostage. You know, that's my word.
Beautiful.
Minikai, did you get that? Minikai's going to tell us all about it.
He definitely got that.
Oh, yeah. I'm working with it.
So we're going to switch from I can't, I won't, till I can, I will, and I must.
There you go.
That is it. Kai, thank you so much for coming on today. I had a blast.
So have I.
This was a dream. I hope we can do it in a few months,
Oh,
another
man, I
couple
hope so
years,
too.
whenever.
Yes, man. I
So
look forward to it.
the mic is yours if there's anyone you want to shout out, say hi to, or thank.
Listen, you guys have been so kind, and
stop.
I have to, just really thank you. You've welcomed me with open arms from the very first day that I came in here, and
Thank you.
I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I really, really, really do appreciate this. This is a tremendous opportunity. I'm in a very good position in my life, one that I have to, just be thankful for. And I think the way to be thankful for it is not just to say thank you with my words, but through my thoughts and my actions. This was an honor to be able to come here and share with you this experience. I want to shout out RiderWare. I want to shout out Redcon One. I want to shout out International Sports Sciences. Believe it or not, just recently, I have been given the tremendous honor and opportunity to actually become an international ambassador with the company. Yeah, so believe it or not, 20 years ago, I'd gotten, a little more than 20 years ago, I got certified, as a personal trainer through that organization, not to go to work in the industry of the realm of fitness and stuff. I did it to help improve my game as an athlete. At the time, Dr. Frederick Hatfield and Tom Platts, were doing some very interesting things with International Sports Sciences, and in the name of International Sports Sciences development department. And I went to the seminar. I read the books. I was really, really excited. And technically, that was a beginning for me to, really step my better foot forward and conquer some of the issues that I had prior to that, when it talked about, going to school and thinking about developing the educational side of doing the thing that I loved. I got a chance to experience, thinking in new directions about possibilities that I hadn't considered as a result of doing that, getting that certification so many years ago. And to be at a place in my life now where I've been asked to come on board as an international, ambassador, and share this idea with helping other people to develop, their role in using fitness and developing their place in this world of fitness to speak to their interests and personal development interests. It's amazing. It's blessings are hunting me down, not because I'm so talented or because I'm so gifted, but because I really do believe that there's proof positive in being able to recognize what you want to do, who you want to become in this life, and recognize that everything that happens in the course of your day is an opportunity to see yourself moved closer in the direction that you want to go most. There's power that has to be used responsibly every day, all day, to become the you that you want to be.
Beautiful. Well, Kai, it was here first. Ladies and gentlemen, let's see it, believe it, and achieve it. And we're going to, I can, I will, and I must for everything in 2021. Kai, thanks so much. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Peace.